This is the briefing for Thursday, December 15th. I want to take a little bit of time in tonight's briefing because I think it's important to go back and look at some of the things that I've been talking about for the past several weeks, I should say, if not months. This is a weekly chart of the spiders, and you can see it is a downtrend. This is a series of lower highs and lower lows, and you can see that the market runs and pauses in various degrees of time. And then you can see that this downtrend, if these are all the lower highs, has not been broken. This recent rally that we've seen off of about the 350 level in the spiders really has not broken this series of lower highs. So basically we were in a downtrend. The question facing us when we reached this October 13th low was basically, is this a pause in this downtrend, such as these pauses were, or is this a low, as many people were talking about, and that we were going to see a rotation back up again and a potential test of the new highs? Now I want to go back to a daily chart, and breaking down the daily chart, you can see this is the series of the runs and pauses. This is the last lower high that we looked at just a minute ago on the weekly chart. And then, of course, this is the last rotation up off of the October 13th lows. Now, the question facing us was, all through this was whether this was the beginning of another rotation back up. In other words, that would test and potentially take out this last lower high, or whether this was just counter trend to this move here. And this developed, if you remember going back to the briefings that I did back in October, that this developed as a three-step counter trend rotation where leg one was approximately equal to leg three, coming in right around the 390 area. Then we got this move to the downside, and the question facing us in that analysis was, is this now the beginning of another leg lower, or is this part of a more complex counter trend rotation where this is leg one, this is leg two, and leg three? Once we did this, once we broke out right here, it was pretty clear that this was the potential for a counter trend rotation. And I projected that there would be equality between legs 1 and 3 at 410 in the spiders. It was a little bit different in the Qs, and I'll get to that in a minute. So when we reached that 410 level, we got this sell-off. But you can see that we had a rotation here right above 390, and then this really was part of a rotational pattern as well. Now, a couple days ago, we did have another retest of the 410 area, and that gave us a double top in this time frame, suggesting the potential for some type of move to the downside. Now, the question facing us at that point in time was whether we were going to break out of 410, and the analysis that I said was a higher probability, which was this is a three-step counter trend rotation and there's another leg lower that's coming, or whether this was the beginning of a rotational pattern where we had an up move, down move, and another up move that would test 430. And that really was something that we had to look at even as far back as earlier in this week. So what happened then was we had this reversal right off of 410. That was a pretty strong reversal off of 410. And then, of course, we had a pause in yesterday's trading. And then, of course, today we traded right down and closed. We traded actually through 390 and closed right at 390. 389.66 is where we closed at. So this gives us now a higher probability. Now, I think if you remember going back to some of the briefings back here, I said that the probability assessment of this being a counter trend rotation was probably about 55 to 60%. Because if we did break through, then that invalidated it, and I had to be open to the possibility of another alternative strategy that I needed to develop. And of course, we reversed from that. But then when we got this other move back up, the same thing occurred. We had to take into consideration that the probabilities were lower that this was a three-step counter trend rotation, but it was still the major probability. But now that we have traded down through 390, closed through it, it does suggest the potential that the probability assessment is increased that we are in the process now of seeing another leg to the downside. Next level of support in the spiders comes in at 370, and then below that would be the October 13th low right around the 348 level. So now let's go back to look at the three indices that are important. These are all daily charts of the spiders, the Qs, and the diamonds representing the industrials. Here's the three-step counter-trend rotation. Here's the double top at 410. And then here's the sell-off that we got breaking down through 390, which opens up the next level of support at 370. Now this is leg 2 of this three-step counter-trend rotation. Breaking that was going to increase the probability assessment of testing the October 13th lows dramatically. So each time we break through a level of support, or if we were going higher to break through a level of resistance, it increases the probability of testing the next level of support or resistance. In this case, we're looking at support levels. The same thing occurred in the Qs. Now the Qs were a little bit different. We had a three-step counter-trend rotation here, but the Qs, the projected leg 3 being at 290, it didn't quite make it up to 290. But then we got this leg 2, which was deeper than in the spiders, which you can see. And then, of course, we got the third leg up. And that third leg, based on the length of this leg, projected to come in right around the 290 area once again. And we exceeded that slightly right up to about the 295 area. And then, of course, we got the sell-off. Now, support in the Qs was at 280. And you can see we've pretty much exceeded that pretty substantially in the Qs. So the Qs are telling us that it is in the process of coming down and testing the 260 level. Now the diamonds, or the Dow Industrials, were completely different. There's no three-step counter-trend rotation. This was just a tear of a bull rally that almost took out important resistance. I think it came in right around the 350 level. But this is a series of higher highs and higher lows, and you can see that pretty clearly right through here. So what happened in today's trading was the series of higher lows was violated. So that now suggests that at least the Dow Industrials are giving us an indication that they are in the process of some type of greater degree time and price counter-trend rotation to this move here. So a little bit of intermarket divergence here, but it does suggest that we are in the process, or at least the information the market is giving us is that we're in the process of some type of additional move to the downside. Important to that now is going to be these levels: 370 in the spiders, 260 in the Qs, and then in the industrials it would come in right around the 320, 315. This low here, which would be the next higher low that to be violated in the diamonds. So breadth was extremely weak in today's trading. You can see that it improved slightly as we got a little bit of buying that came in at the close, and you can see that in the buying tails right there. Now I want to go to the NASDAQ, the Qs, and you can see the difference here. Here's the first leg, the second leg, third leg projecting right up to the 290, 295 area, but then this pause. And this pause is very important right now. Breaking through the lower extreme at 280 opens up the potential to move down to 260. But it's important now that the indices move away from these support areas and not end up rotating back through them. But there's a chance of a pause tomorrow or a rotation because of the extent of this move in all three of the indices, suggesting that we are at a point of being extremely oversold, and therefore we have to expect some type of pause to work off that oversold condition. In the Russell, the IWM, you can see a three-step counter-trend rotation, but then the pause that occurred. 190 was the upper resistance, and 178 was the lower support. We've broken through 178. 174 is the next level of support, and you can see that right here. This is the second leg of the Russell, this three-step counter-trend rotation. Breaking that is going to be pretty significant. So if you look at all three indices, going back to them, you can see that the spiders have a little bit farther to go to break leg 2. The NASDAQ is really in the process of trading down through that. And then, of course, I don't have the Russell here, but the diamonds are looking at this 316, 317 area as the next level of support for it. Now, we are at a point of being extremely oversold. It does not preclude the market from going lower in tomorrow's trading. Today was a pretty significant day in terms of selling, but there was no capitulation selling that I can see, at least as of yet. So I have to anticipate the potential for some type of pause in tomorrow's trading. What's going to be important is what happens with market breadth. So you can see breadth is here. If we get a lower low at the open tomorrow and breadth is stronger than it was in today's trading, then that's going to suggest we'll see some type of pause at around just above or just below these support levels. So watch what happens at 390 in the spiders, 280 in the Qs. If we get a lower low and breadth is as weak or weaker than it was today, then that's going to potentially open up a lot more selling, and we're likely to see us coming close to testing these lower support levels. I have to anticipate the potential for some type of pause based on the fact that we had 3 pretty big down days in a row. But if fear starts hitting this market, and it has not hit it yet, volume is increasing, but it has not hit it yet. If fear hits this market, we could see a series of pretty substantial down days. But right now, I think the higher probability is I'm looking for some type of a pause to work off this oversold condition tomorrow, and then potentially the first of the week we could see a significant amount of movement to the downside. Going to be an important day tomorrow, and I will definitely pick this back up tomorrow evening. Have a great night and good luck tomorrow.